you were involved, not you personally, but when you were on the Blues,
Mhm.
um, y'all had an accident like that. You mentioned that in the debriefs, and I don't know if you were referencing this or not, but you talked about how you're getting complacent.
Mhm.
So, can you kind of tell everybody how that may have, how did that whole thing happen? And was it ever addressed in the debrief in such a way where it could have been avoided or should have been avoided?
Yeah.
And I understand that you can't necessarily disclose everything, but
Well, the maneuver is called the blivet. So the number 5 and 6 jet pass each other at low altitude and then roll inverted, push for an outside half cubanate, and then meet in the middle. There's smoke on the airplane. It actually inscribes the image of a heart.
mhm.
Um, in in the Niagara Falls mishap in 1985, which is around July or so timeframe, um, the the contract that we have with who is going to be straight and level and who is going to put the lateral distance, that contract was violated. So the 5 jet was the jet that sort of sets the maneuver, we would say. In other words, I'm going to be very predictable. I've got a certain airspeed, and I'm not going to move my wings, and I'm not going to react to you, and I'm going to let you get as close as you feel comfortable with me. So, so the 6 jet hit the 5 jet, clipped it, ended up in the loss of the number 6 pilot, and the number 5 pilot lost his aircraft, but was able to eject safely and recovered on the ground. So the question about the debrief, yes, this is really where my um, my experience has been watching the two of these two pilots work together, and yet over time, um, the conversation is one where one pilot is encouraging another pilot to to work closer to them, and I just don't think there was um, enough time and thought that went into changing someone's mindset that was comfortable doing a maneuver that John and Martha couldn't tell how far apart the airplanes were to a point where we were compromising and not even recognizing it. There's an element of complacency that creeps in. No one starts the day feeling complacent. You can see it in the way we drive
Mhm.
sometimes. We're just getting really comfortable with cars moving really fast and being really close to us.
That's a great point.
And yet you don't even know who's next door. You don't know who's in the other car. You make a lot of assumptions at night on a 2-lane road. You see a couple of headlights coming your way. You assume they're going to stay on their side of the road. Sometimes people get surprised, and there's no second chances with an accident like that.
That's a great analogy. I hadn't
So
really thought of it.
that's really where this is. I couldn't tell you what was in the mind of the 6 pilot, other than I had been around during the debriefs, where there was this strong commitment to being as professional as we could, to do the best that we could, and we stepped into an area where we got really complacent without recognizing the margin that we were the reaction time margin that we were cutting into.
So, wh- what what was the aftermath of that for you personally? How did that change you? How does that stay with you to this
Yeah,
day, and how does it manifest itself?
far more proactive when it comes to how we message the people who work for us. Uh, Far more mindful to recognize where people are comfortable, and I'm talking about this is high performance sort of comfortable.
Hmm.
So getting people comfortable in a dynamic, high performance environment, um, and then helping them get to the next level of proficiency. That requires finding the right sort of way and language to sometimes have to repeat a message over and over, but to do it in a way that helps guide them rather than push them. So when people aren't comfortable with something, they'll have a way of expressing it, whether with verbal or nonverbal cues, and you can just tell. as a leader, if you're connected to the audience, you have an understanding, and to pull on that in an environment where it's safe for them to express where they have reservations. That's hugely important, and it's something where the real value of what we do is that we can do it over and over and over again. But when we compromise and when we're complacent, then we lose that ability to be resilient, because we'll lose people, we'll lose aircraft, and everything.